Hello everyone and welcome back to Trainz 12. We're working on what I call the Sebring route because that's the name of the town. This is the this is the layout I had in my last video. And we came to a point, you saw that we built this street running section through this town. And we've gotten to the point where it's time to put in some more complicated ATLS stuff. And because I need to redo it here, I thought I would show you guys how to make an ATLS system that's a little bit more complicated. Now, I'm not going to do any of this from scratch. I have another video I'm going to make that will eventually show that on one of my other layouts. But this is just kind of a short little rundown. Well, I say short, but we'll see how long this actually is. To how the ATLS system actually works. So, let's do an overview of what we're going to be doing today. This is our street running portion. You can see it goes right here through the middle of this town and then squirts out the other side here. And we're going to be using a bunch of slaves, a bunch of controllers, and a bunch of stuff. And you're pretty much going to set this up as if it's a normal crossing. It's just that you're going to intertwine everything together and use it a little bit differently. I'll speak through that as we go. So here's a quick little overview. Our train is going to come in to town and it's going to trigger this big gate right here that's going to block these 2 lanes of traffic, preventing cars from driving in to town. Now, there is nothing that's going to stop traffic coming from the opposing direction. Well, let's just assume the train is coming from the left for this. I'm sorry, the right. Excuse me. So the gate's going to go down and it's going to keep traffic from going into town. Nothing is going to be stopping traffic from the other side. As the train comes in from the right. If a train were to come from the left, there will be another trigger that will trigger this crossing, that will activate this crossing. Let's not use trigger too many times. Trigger warning. No, that'll activate this crossing and the train will cross. So, that's that piece, and then there's also a little sub gate here that will also activate. Over here is a street light. There's going to be about, what, 2 or 3 of these? Something like that. I see 2 just in sight. So what this is going to do, and I see that this piece is straight away from where it's supposed to go, so I'm just going to fix that. There we go. Sorry, that was distracting. Okay, so this is an ATLS intersection. It's all set up already pre-wired. We just need to put in the triggers. And as you can see, we've got some overhead bridges that are really steep to climb up, so kind of inconvenient, but the lights are hanging from there. And we have another set of lights here. If I go into the object properties of this traffic light here on the right, whoops, that was not the right thing to do. Okay, go into this traffic light. Okay, so as this loads up, this is going to show you what each of these does. Now let me just swing it over here so you can actually see the light. So this is a normal functioning traffic light with an arrow on the bottom. And what this is going to do is you can configure how the light operates. You're going to see, you know, what the turn signal does, and then you're going to set what direction the arrow goes. And in this case, we've set it to forward. You can set it, you know, turn around, green, that, and that. So we're going to set it to this, and then we are going to see, here it is actually set up right now. We are going to set the lights to Route 1, Route 2, and Route 3. So Route 1 is just normal operation, green lights for, let's see, how would this be, from, we'll call it from the top of the screen down to the bottom left. You know, that route will be active. Route 2 is the T intersection here. If I can rotate the camera, I can't. But that is the T intersection here, perpendicular, that route going green, and then Route 3 is what is called the special route. So you can see we've set the normal top 3 lights to Route 1, and we set the bottom 3 lights to Route 3. So when you set up your controller here, now this is the controller for the intersection, For basic traffic lights, Route 1, as we said, is our road going vertically from the top of the screen to the bottom left. That is green, the other is red. Route 2 is this perpendicular road with the parking space right here, if you can't see my cursor. That will go green when that is red. And then this SPL, the SPL is a special setting which is used in conjunction with triggers. It's very similar to the level crossing mode, and this way you can activate traffic lights or any other sort of ATLS objects with a train. So when the special is triggered, it will go to this Route 3 phasing, which activates those arrows and stops everything else. So what exactly does this do? It basically means, I don't know why that arrow is stuck on. It's probably a thing with me messing with it. I'm sure it'll go away once I reset. But what this is going to do is it's going to set the traffic lights to say everybody on the road with the rails in it is allowed to go straight. You can't turn left, you can't turn right. Well, you can turn right technically. But everybody goes straight. If you're going this way, you're only going straight. There's no turning, and a special with these is this is a no left turn train signal. So when this is triggered via the special trigger, this will say no left turn train. And this will allow traffic to flow, and you know, you don't have to worry about the cars stopping. Now, there are no ATLS stoppers in the route in this area here, so traffic's not going to listen to any of this. This is all just for show. Continuing down here, this is another intersection set up exactly the same, and one thing I forgot to mention about the other one is this one does have crossing gates set up for the crossways intersections, so they will trigger and they will go down, blocking traffic from getting from this road out. And then down here we've got a special setup where this is a lane controller, and again, there's no stoppers, so the traffic's not going to listen to any of this. It's just for looks. What this is a lane stopper, and pretty much what it's going to do is say everybody who is driving on the rails here is allowed to go. Everyone who's in this right lane has to stop, and then there's a gate that will stop them as well. That's because the train curves off to the right, and you know, we don't want people getting hit by the train. And then this piece over here, which this one actually does have a traffic stopper, so it will function properly. This has a gate that will stop you and when the train's coming from this direction and going from the left of your screen and going on down the road. So because I had to delete and replace the track, I don't remember where any of my triggers are. Obviously all the triggers on the road have failed, so we need to set those straight. So let's see here. How do you do that? Putting your pieces back together. So we're going to go to the Objects tab. We're going to find a trigger, and I think that trigger looks like, oh no, it's connected. Here it is. This is set to channel 30. So we got to remember channel 30. Now over here I saw some triggers. I'm going to do it this way. ATLS trigger. And those are set to 29. So those are triggering the traffic lights. 28. What the hell are those triggering? Okay, so if that's set to trigger 30, that one's set to trigger 30, and that's going to activate the level crossing. Okay. That one is 28, and that stops traffic on this end of the road right here, so that the train can enter the road, and that will stop both lights. And then this one is 27. And we want 27 to be active for pretty much the length of this. So we're going to take this from the simplest to the most difficult. And trigger 27 is probably going to be the hardest. So I'm just going to double check and make sure that it looks okay. And that's 29. That's 29. Wait a second. If that's 29, and that's 27. What's that one? That one's 28. And then 29. 27. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to completely redo this because I'm getting confused. All right, so let's just go from one end to the other here. So starting with these two triggers, number 30 and number that one here. Let me just whip it up. That's number 30 and that's number 28. So let's start with number 30 because it's the easiest. Here we go. So we need to trigger number 30 with 20 seconds of activation time because this is a normal railway crossing. So let's see, 25 miles per hour. We need to convert that to feet. 5,280. And then we need to, you know what, this is silly. I'm just going to do it in my unit converter. Federal Railroad Administration says you need 20 seconds of warning before a train can enter a crossing. So, and this is for the United States. Other countries may vary. So, what we need to do is we need to convert 25 miles per hour to feet per second because the Trainz thing measures in feet. So let's do 25. That is equal to 36 feet per second. Let's do 37 because it's on the... 37 times 20 is 740 feet. That seems like an awfully long time, or a long distance, but let's find out. So here's the beginning of the crossing. We need to measure 740 feet. That's about here. Okay, stick a trigger. And that's going to be our trigger going into town. Now we're not going to put one on this other track because this is a one-way system. It's a one-way track, and in fact, I need to put in the markers so that the game doesn't screw it up. So here's our markers 1 and 2. Yeah, those are correct. And then we'll go over here. And then this is going to deactivate when it gets to this portion right here. Go back to the trigger. That's a signal. There it is. There. Alright, so we're going to edit the properties. We're going to set this to 30. It's going to be a 1 or 2 way running basic. 30. There we go. Now, this one is going to be interesting because we need it to actually trigger for a variety of reasons. And this is number 28. Number 28 actually needs to trigger during this thing as well. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to put another set of triggers down. We'll put them right here. And right here. Let's do 28 and 28. Also going to be 1 or 2 way running because we're dealing with one direction. Now, that's this side. Now we have to do this other side, which we're going to put that one right here and that's going to be set to 28. And we need to measure 740 feet in the opposite direction to get the trigger for the other way. So here's where the train's going to enter. Actually, no, the train crossing is technically right here. So that's where the train's going to enter, and then we're going to go 740 feet. It's right here. So we'll just put it there. There. And set that to, that's the wrong thing. Okay, it is getting the railroad crossing instead of the trigger. There it goes. Set that to 28. Okay, so that's set to 28, which is this right here. This gate and these lights. Now, it's going to be interesting. I'm wondering how it's going to behave. I think it's going to be a little bit ornery, but we'll find out. Now we need to take care of the intersections. The intersections are going to be interesting. I think... Let me double check this. It's 27. That's 27. Okay. So we need numbers 27 and 29. Okay, so we're going to go back to the same thing. 740 feet is the magic number for the intersections. So we're going to go to this side of the intersection, go 740 feet, which is right here at the end of the bridge. Now, I already forgot what the trigger number, what the channel number was. It was 27. So we're going to do a trigger there. And a trigger here. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. The trigger's got to go on the other side of the intersection so that the crossing deactivates once the train clears. I got confused with that side. So I'm going to start numbering these. 27. And it's doing it again. And 27. Okay, and then I gotta remember to do the one back here so I don't forget. 27. Okay. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to try to delete the ruler, and we are going to go 740 feet again, that magic number. 740 feet. There it is. 750, 740. And just to reiterate, the reason I'm doing 740 feet is because the railroad regulations say that a crossing or anything must be active 20 seconds before a train gets there. And these are acting as crossings, and as such, they need to be within those regulations, and 25 miles an hour is 36 feet per second, and so it'll be 740 feet, roughly, before a train gets there. So that's why I keep saying that that's the magic number. And let's get rid of that. Okay, so that is this intersection done. This intersection's done. And I'm just going to verify this piece. That should be number 30? 28. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't put something where I wasn't supposed to put it. Alrighty, so now we go down to this one, which, if I recall, is number 29. So, I'm going to actually do this a little bit quick. We're going to put a trigger here and a trigger here and number them 29. Because those are going to deactivate right at the end. Okay. And we're going to grab our ruler. We're going to go here. We're going to go 740 feet. Which is roughly about here. Now I know this is a curved road, so this is not entirely accurate as far as 740 feet, but it's taking the short route, so this is actually a little bit longer. So that'll probably be beneficial. This was number 29 or 28? I think it was 29. Let me double check. I can't remember. Yes, 29. So we'll delete that. Come on. There we go. Okay, you're going to take this 740 feet again. 740. Okay. This is what I was afraid of happening. And this is a challenge that you're probably going to run into a lot with routes, and that is stuff happening on top of switches. So this gives you one of two options. Our first option is going to be convert to a four-way running system, and the second is going to be just gambling and taking a guess. Now I guess you could put the triggers on, you know, like this, where you put, you know, that's the 740 foot mark, so you can put one there and you can put one there. But those are way too close together, and they will probably screw up because they're too close to each other, so it'll look like the train's passing through both of them, and nothing will work. So what I think we're gonna do for this scenario is just put it a little bit closer. We can slow the trains down a little bit or something, but that's really our choice right there. There's really nothing else we can do. And like I said, this is a bit of a curve, so honestly that's probably much closer to our magical number than what we have set up here. You can see, you know, the tight bends as it goes around. So I feel pretty good about that. So turn that, set this to 29. Oops, that caught the junction, not the trigger. Perfect. Okay, so that's this intersection done. Now we need to do this piece. Now this piece is going to be really interesting because of the different things that we have in order to run it. So let's take care of the street side first. But actually, first what we're going to do is we're going to put this trigger, we're going to put that trigger right there because it's the end, and we're going to, that's channel 31. Channel 31. And we're doing all of these as two trigger sets, a one or two-way running. We're not doing the four-way running. That's a little bit too complicated for this and a bit unnecessary. It could, you know, make it a bit more efficient, but this is a simple outlook, I guess, at it. And then we will turn the crossing off for that way. I guess right about there looks good. And 31. Okay, so now let's go this way first. We need this. And we need to go right to the yellow line and go 740 feet. Which is right about here, right at the vertex. So we're going to put the trigger actually on this side, right there, because that is probably a bit more accurate to the magical 740 foot number. And that way, if I have to cut the spline or anything, I won't lose the trigger. So, ruler, delete. There we go. And And then we need to go from this end 740 feet down the tracks. 8, 6, 7, 745. Okay, so this one we actually have a similar issue. Now you see the one-way running markers, so we're not going to have a thing on this track, but we will have something on that track and on this track. Now here it's going to be a little close together, so there is a chance that that middle track, we'll call it the middle track right here, could rub up against the trigger and accidentally set it off. So we're actually going to put these back a bit further, so that way they don't run into each other. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. 31. Okay, so that trigger is all set up, and that's the town. That's actually it. Those are all the triggers that we need to do. Now, this is very important. Let's get rid of the ruler. That's not it. You don't need to get rid of the ruler. I just wanted to clear up the screen a little bit. If I can. There we go. Okay. Now, this is very important. When you're done placing your ATLS triggers, go to the track mark tab, and you'll see that they light up with this little range. We're going to go down to advanced. We're going to set that number to 1 meter. Okay, so this is a perfect example of why you need to set your trigger nodes to 1. It's because they default to 20 meters. So that means any train that comes into this bow tie, we'll call it a bow tie, into this range will trip the trigger, which means that this trigger will be tripped by a train going down this middle track right here. And we don't want that. That's bad. And especially if we go down closer to the switch right here where they overlap, that you really don't want that. That's really bad. So I always set them to 1, and that way they're really small and they won't touch each other. And that is what you want, or else everything's just gonna go haywire, and you know we don't want that. So that's the last thing we're gonna do before we actually run a train down this. So we're going to set all of these to 1. There we go. There we go. And you can see, like, right here, the tracks are so close together because of the street that they will overlap each other's track, and we don't want that either. That will really mess things up. Put that to 1, put that to 1. Through the river. 1, 1. Alrighty then. Okay, so before I run this train, I'm going to fly over this mountain here really quickly, and I'm going to make sure that these switches are set correctly so that we don't have to deal with that once we start the train. Oh, that one's fine. And we get to fly down here, set that one, set that one. Okay, that's all good. Alrighty. So that's the town, and we're going to take control of this unit right here, this Amtrak train, and we'll see if this thing works. So right now I'm going to save the route. Okay, so there's our town, and here's our train. Somebody to drive the train, and we'll just pick you. You're gonna drive the train. Alrighty. So, this is gonna be a 25-mile-an-hour limit. Okay, we got ourselves a green signal. Everything should be fine. Let's turn on some lights. So we can't go faster than 25 miles an hour, or else this entire system won't work. So we're going to roll up here. This is the first thing that will trigger, is this crossing. Let's see if I can pivot it around. We'll actually go over here so you can see the crossing and in action. There it goes. And that is activated. And cars will stop if any show up. So as the train comes in, you'll see that those trigger, and then if we come here, these lights should trigger as well here in just a little bit. And there, see, I see a little bit of lag, so that might be them. Okay, so something has gone wrong here, because that should trigger, and it's not. So I think I may have missed a trigger on that one. Let's bounce down and see if this other one has worked. Okay, this one's actually not been activated yet. There it is. Okay, so here we are. I'm actually going to pause for just a second. So the sim is paused. You can see here that the lights are green. The lights are green. No left turn train as our train approaches and a car glitches into the train. You can see that that's also triggered here. And that this is actually going down. How strange. You'll see the train pass by, and as it passes by this intersection, this should trigger. There it goes. The train's actually moving a little too slowly. That's going too fast. Okay, there we go. And there, that deactivates, that will trigger and it will reset its cycle. Let's bounce down here. You see that that's all working, functioning properly. Both signals are red. Obviously, if you're in this lane and there's a train behind you, you're probably going to run the red light. And see, this traffic does not stop. And then the train moves on, and this opens, and that goes back to green. Perfect. So it looks like, except for that one little bit that didn't work properly, everything seems to be functioning just great. So we're going to move the train ahead here, and then we'll stop it, and we'll turn it around. So once it clears the switch here, which we'll probably do on the other side of the bridge, we'll turn the train around. That bell's probably really annoying. Stop. This topography is pretty bad. I need to fix it. Okay, so the train has stopped. We're going to flip its direction. You're going to tell it to go that way. So before the train gets into town, I'm actually going to fly here to the other end and reset the switches so that it actually goes to the right place and it doesn't derail. If the game would stop lagging. There it goes. And everything looks like it's deactivated properly. There we go. We'll just send it back to the station. And no residual things. Why don't we actually ride in the cab? That's not the right cab. Boink. Go down to this end of the train. Actually reset those ditch lights. Why don't we ride in here? Alright. Gotta just tick it up a little bit. Wow. That is really fast. The lag kind of sucks. But it seems like this train is moving awfully fast through this town. I think I might have to slow them down even further, maybe to 15 miles an hour through here. So yes, we're just rolling through in the middle of the city streets. So you can see up ahead that that is functioning properly. And the no left turn thing is on. We don't want cars stopping and waiting for other traffic, so we're not going to allow any turns. They can just go straight. You know, if we happen to be following a car down this road. Speaking of which, let me pull out for a second. If we go back here to the rear of the train, look, you can see traffic following us down the road. And it looks like 25 miles an hour is the correct way to do it, because it doesn't look like they're catching up to us at all. Back down here. Whoops. Wrong car. And let's go back outside. Okay, that one functioned properly, so I must have missed a trigger somewhere. And I will have to go fix that. And then, okay, so there's an error that we have to fix. That car should not be stopping there. That's just a simple node error. So we'll get that fixed. And then we come out of town. Make sure everything has deactivated. Sorry, I'm switching to the free camera, so there's a bit of a lag. So we'll come back here. There's our last car. And it deactivates. And we'll stop. Awesome. So yeah, we'll just go back in, we'll take a look at our triggers. I must have missed the one for this side for that. And actually, I'll do that on camera, so then that will take only hopefully a few seconds. And then the issue with the car stopping. Now this is a common thing with ATLS that messes with a lot of people. When you have a traffic stopper, sometimes traffic will stop, like this red truck will stop. The way to get rid of that is to take your insert spline and put one like right there. And that should stop the traffic from screwing up your point. The only thing that it does is it appears to screw up my entire layout. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. There we go. Just got to get that point nice and lined up. Come on. Just got to get that nice and lined up right on top of it. And you're being a little fidgety, aren't you? It messed up my angles, so I gotta try to fix it. There. Can that do it? That's enough to make me happy. It's a little off, but it's not bad. Okay, so that is the complicated ATLS intersection if you want to do street running ATLS. Like I said, I've got another layout that's got a little bit of a street running portion. I don't know if I'd call it street running, but it goes through the middle of an intersection, kind of like this one does here. And that one I can, do a much more complicated ATLS start to finish with a traffic light. This one already had the route built. I've been tweaking this route to make it better because it, after a while I get tired and just start throwing things in the world. And I come back and fix it later. So I hope this tutorial was useful to you. If you like the tutorial, you like the content, feel free to, put that like button. If I did anything wrong or missed anything, feel free to leave a comment. And until the next video, have a wonderful day.